Hello. In the first part of literary criticism, we had discussed some of the major literary critics till the time of Wordsworth. In this second part of literary criticism, we are going to discuss some more major literary critics. The first one is S.T. Coleridge. S.T. Coleridge wrote the book Biographia Literaria, and this book was published in 1817. This book is a mixture of autobiography, philosophy, psychology, and literary criticism. In this work, Coleridge criticizes William Wordsworth's theory of poetry as given in the preface to Lyrical Ballads. He opposes the principle given in the preface that there is no essential difference between the language of prose and of metrical composition. The book Biographia Literaria contains the famous critical concept of willing suspension of disbelief and also the difference between imagination and fancy. Now, the next literary critic is P.B. Shelley. P.B. Shelley wrote an essay. The name of the essay is A Defense of Poetry, and this essay was published in 1840. It was written in 1821 and it was published in 1840. A Defense of Poetry. And in this essay, Shelley analyzes the inner essence of poetry and the reason of its existence. He argues that poets should communicate the pleasure of their experiences to the community. This essay was published in Essays, Letters from Abroad, Translations and Fragments. Next literary critic is John Ruskin. John Ruskin coined the term pathetic fallacy. In his volume 3 of his work, Modern Painters. This work was published in 1856. This term means, pathetic fallacy, this term means attribution of human emotions or conduct to non-human nature. Next critic is Matthew Arnold. Matthew Arnold, very important literary critic, gave the touchstone method by saying that the best guides to excellent poetry are the lines and expressions of the great masters. They act as touchstones for judging high poetic quality. So this was his major contribution. He also wrote the book Culture and Anarchy. Next literary critic is T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot's famous essay Tradition and Individual Talent was published in 1919. This essay lays emphasis on tradition, as tradition carries an order. This historical knowledge of tradition is important for a poet, as the tradition makes an organic whole. So T.S. Eliot emphasizes both on the knowledge of tradition as well as the individual talent. In the impersonal theory of poetry, this theory is given by T.S. Eliot. The impersonal theory of poetry, he implies that artistic creation is a process of depersonalization. A poet is only a medium in creating poetry from emotions and feelings. So the mind of the poet should remain unaffected and the personal emotions of the poet should not be expressed. So the creation of poetry should involve the extinction of the personality of poet. In his own words, Eliot's own words, he says, it is not in his personal emotions, the emotions provoked by particular events in his life, that the poet is in any way remarkable or interesting. So these are the major contributions by T.S. Eliot. Next literary critic is I.A. Richards. Richards wrote very seminal book, Principles of Literary Criticism, and this book was published in 1924. In this book, Richards attempted to establish a systematic basis for the study of literature. In this book, Richards marks a difference of applicability between the scientific use of language and emotive use of language. He says, when a statement is used for the sake of the reference, true or false, which it causes, then it is scientific use of language. But when a statement is used for the sake of the effects in emotion and attitude produced by the reference, it equations, then it is emotive use of language. So, these are the two uses of language, scientific use of language and emotive use of language. In 1929, Richards published the book Practical Criticism, in which he emphasized upon the close reading method of literature. This practice of close reading had a great impact on the new critics. In the close reading, the focus is on the work only. During the 1940s, new criticism became an institutionalized approach in academia. So, this was a major contribution by I.A. Richards, which is new criticism, in which the whole focus is on the work and not on the biography of the writer. The next literary critic is John Crowe Ransom. Ransom published a series of essays entitled The New Criticism in 1941. Ransom argued that any historical studies like literary backgrounds, biography, literary sources, etc., should be excluded from the analysis of a work. The focus should be on the text only, that is, the words on the page. So, this new criticism theory became very popular. Next criticism is by Virginia Woolf, a very important literary critic regarding feminist criticism. Virginia Woolf, in her essay A Room of One's Own, published in 1929, A Room of One's Own, she raised issues such as the social and economic context of women's writing and the need to establish a female literary tradition. So, very important contribution. She says that intellectual freedom and financial freedom both are needed by women writers. Now, next critic we have is Roman Ingarden. He wrote this book, The Literary Work of Art, in 1931. He depicted the text as a totality made up of several strata, from the level of the word to that of the schematized aspects. So he viewed the work of art in its totality, and this work became very popular, the literary work of art. Next critic is Clint Brooks. Clint Brooks wrote a very important book, The Well-Wrought Urn, Studies in the Structure of Poetry, and this book was published in 1947, The Well-Wrought Urn by Clint Brooks. In this book, he says, even the most direct and simple poet is forced into paradoxes far more often than we think. That means a poet uses paradoxes, and this is his very nature. Brooks differentiates between beauty of one particular item and beauty of the poem considered as a whole. So Brooks differentiates between beauty of just a small part of a work and the beauty of the work as a whole. He says it is in terms of structure that we must describe poetry. Structure is very important. The structure here means structure of meanings, evaluations, and interpretations, and the principle of unity which informs it seems to be one of balancing and harmonizing connotations, attitudes, and meanings. So he also describes what kind of structure is so important in a poem. Next we have Roland Barthes. Roland Barthes, a French literary critic and theorist, wrote a very important work, The Death of the Author, in 1968. Roland Barthes, in this essay, Barthes argues that a literary work should be separated from its author or creator, and his or her identity should not interfere with the reading or criticism of work. So he says, Roland Barthes says that author should nowhere interfere in the analysis of the work. So the author should be kept separate, and it is only upon the reader to analyze the work. Next critic is Harold Bloom. Harold Bloom wrote the book The Anxiety of Influence, a theory of poetry. He wrote this book, The Anxiety of Influence, in 1973. In this book, Harold Bloom writes about the anxiety which is created in a poet because of the earlier poets. The influence of precursor poets creates a sense of anxiety in living poets. Strong poets create their original work in spite of the pressure of influence of tradition. So here kind of he opposes T.S. Eliot, and he says that the tradition creates a kind of pressure upon a poet, creates a kind of anxiety. Next, last important literary critic here is Walter Benjamin. Walter Benjamin wrote an essay, very important, influential essay, The Work of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction. This was published in 1935. In this essay, Benjamin argues that a mechanical copy of any work of art diminishes its aesthetic value. It is not as aesthetic as the original work of art. So a copy lacks the authenticity of its existence in a particular time and space. So these were few major literary critics.